Welcome everybody to a look at another 4K limited edition release from Arrow Video, and it is 1994's The Mask. So this is directed by Chuck Russell, who also did two really rather great horror films from the late 80s. A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, which is probably my favourite sequel in that series, and the 1988 version of The Blob. Also would go on to do a Razor with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So a superhero slapstick film clocking in at 101 minutes long. Had a budget between 18 and 23 million dollars, but had a box office return of 352 million. So definitely a success. Such a success, in fact, it would be the most profitable superhero film until Joker came out 25 years later. So that's just how successful it was. The stars, of course, Jim Carrey. Favourites from him being the likes of The Truman Show, Liar Liar, The Cable Guy, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, and I Love You, Philip Morris, as well as Peter Riegert, who was in A Shot to the System with Michael Caine, Peter Green, who was in Pulp Fiction, and Cameron Diaz, who was obviously in the likes of Shrek, Shrek 2, and being John Malkovich. So Stanley, a meek bank employee, turns into an eccentric and maniacal green-skinned superhero who can bend reality after wearing a wooden mask that was created by Loki, the Norse god of mischief. So, yeah, this works best when Carey is going fully into his trademark humour. That is, of course, backed up by his physicality, as that is where all of the laughs in this are present, as he is great behind the mask or otherwise. That said, the special effects are also still solid, which is despite this 4K release, which is surprising given the relatively low budget for a film that features numerous sequences involving them. So you have to remember this is extremely early special effects CGI um, being used in a much larger way. Obviously, CGI and special effects have been around since the early 80s, but more often than not, it was only one or two sequences, whereas in this, there's a large portion of the running time, to say the least, is dedicated to using special effects. And it's only a year after Jurassic Park, which cost what, twice, three times as much as this. So yeah, these are still surprisingly hold up, which is helpful given that's where a lot of the time is spent within. We're within this special effects sequences. Obviously, the lead character has a lot of special effects involved with them as well. So yeah, they need to be good, and they are thankfully still solid. The supporting cast is also good. The pacing is effective. The score is well done. It is generally engaging. Has some decent characterization for our lead, and the cinematography is on point as well. Just a shame that when Carey isn't on the screen, this isn't particularly entertaining. While it has its predictable moments, and the titular mask isn't on screen as much as you might expect for a film that is obviously titled The Mask and, of course, has them on the front cover. So, yeah, it's a solid 3.5 out of 5. Definitely would be better with Carey in the leading role in future films from him, but it's still a solid one from him, and I can certainly see why. Yeah, a lot of people hold this up as one of his best, and it certainly was the first proper blockbuster from him. Um, Obviously, then the likes of Liar Liar and um, Bruce Almighty would go on to make as much, if not more, money, but still a successful one regardless. And yeah, we get a nice hard box with this release as well. Nice purple, which obviously goes with the kind of colour scheme that the mask at times wears. And I've got on the side, we've got the mask itself on the reverse. And yeah, obviously we have the slipcover that you've seen already that goes over the hard box itself. We also have a few physical extras on top of all of that. First of which is a booklet, which features a newspaper excerpt from the film itself. So you can read that if you so wish. And inside the book itself, we've got cast and crew, Masks of Dreams, Masks of Nightmares by Alexandra Heller Nicholas. Then we've got original production notes, and then about the production presentation and production credits as well. On top of all that, you've obviously got shots from the film, such as a few screen grabs there of Jim Carrey as the mask. Also say that the makeup effect work is really good as well. And obviously, because he is green, they would have to not have any green screen backgrounds or sets or anything like that. So They do have to keep it quite low key in that regard, unfortunately, just because of the way that technology was at the time. You do have some behind the scenes shots as well of Carrey getting the makeup applied to him. I'm sure that took a good while to actually get done. Speak of, you hear of the likes of Ron Perlman in Hellboy, and it took several hours to get the makeup on him and such as that. Um, and yeah, in terms of the presentation, the mask has been restored by Arrow Films and is presented in its original aspect ratio of 1:85:1 with 5.1 and stereo audio plus a new Dolby Atmos mix exclusive to the Ultra HD presentation. The film is presented in 4K resolution in HDR10 and Dolby Vision. The original 35mm camera negative was scanned in 4K 16-bit resolution at Warner Brothers Motion Picture Imaging. The film was restored in 4K resolution and color graded at Duplatech. Dolby Atmos mix was produced by Deluxe. All material sourced for this new master were made available by Warner Brothers, and then QC review was completed by Pixel Logic. And the new master of the mask was reviewed and approved by director Chuck Russell. So yeah, got the director on board with that. As I've said in the past, that is not always a bonus because obviously James Cameron was involved with the 4K restorations of a few of his films, and they had a less than positive reception. So yeah, but still, I feel like the 4K on this looks really rather good. It doesn't make the special effects look properly outdated. They are perhaps outdated in certain regards, especially if you're going to look at it frame by frame and see everything that's going on with the film. But when it's in motion, when it's working as a comedy and getting the laughs out here with the special effects and such, it is working really well. And yeah, I think the 4K itself looks good. And the 5.1 audio is sounding good as well. I didn't have a chance to check out the Dolby Atmos, but I'm sure it's also a pretty good one as well. We also have a bunch of art cards as well, all of which have the poster on the back. So minor spoilers for the film throughout. There is Cameron Diaz. So surprisingly, she's quite low down in terms of the actual cast credits. Even on the likes of Letterboxd, she's quite low down. But that might just be because it was literally an introducing role. It even says introducing Cameron Diaz on the credits. And I think that's because she was relatively new. I don't know if I'm holding that the right way around or not because it's that way there and then you turn it around and but obviously he does come inside on, so I guess it's just the way it is. And that looks like a behind the scenes shot there. So yeah, and we also get a double-sided poster. Not on the thickest of papers by any means, but we do get two versions of the poster itself. So we get the one we've already seen on the slipcover. It's not massive or anything, but it's still decent enough. And then that one, which I actually quite like as well. To be honest, I like both of them. So probably would swap between the two every now and then if I were to put it up for a long amount of time. And then we have the extras on the disc itself, alongside the alternate artwork that I've already shown you on the poster. So in terms of extras on the disc itself, we have optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, archive audio commentary with Chuck Russell, the director, archive audio commentary with Chuck Russell, New Line's co-chairman Bob Shea, screenwriter Mike Werb, executive producer Mike Richardson, producer Bob Engelman, ILM VFX supervisor Scott Squires, animation supervisor Tom Bertino, and cinematographer J.R. Leonetti. It is surprising that New Line Cinema were not considered a big production company, given obviously they weren't, Warner Brothers or anything like that, although they were eventually bought out by them. But when you release a $352 million film that highly profitable to the point where it wouldn't be a more profitable film than it in the superhero genre for 25 years, you'd think that they'd become way more renowned. But yeah, unfortunately, they never seem to have really gotten out of their independent hole that they'd started out from. Because obviously they also had the Nightmare on Elm Street series, which was massively popular. But for whatever reason, they never really were able to get any higher than they actually were. And obviously they would bring out the Lord of the Rings films and such. But yeah, it always feels like they were constantly on the back foot when it came to their productions and never really taken seriously. Then we got the man behind the mask, a newly filmed interview with Chuck Russell, from Strip to Screen, a newly filmed interview with Mike Richardson, Mike Werb, and Mark Verheiden. Green Faces, Blue Screens, a newly filmed interview with visual effects supervisor Scott Squires. Splicing, a newly filmed interview with editor Arthur Coburn. Ask Peggy, a newly filmed interview with actor Amy Yazbek. Towing the Conga Line, a newly filmed interview with choreographer Jerry Evans, featuring never before seen rehearsal footage. And then we've got Terrier Mania, a new video essay with critic Elizabeth Purchell on canine sidekick Milo, a dog that surprisingly didn't have much of a career outside of this one, despite the fact that as a dog actor is very, very good. Then we've got archival featurettes, Return to Ed City, introducing Cameron Diaz, Cartoon Logic, What Makes Feed or Run, the making of, on-set interview bites with the cast and director, as well as B-roll footage. I'll bet my money on it that some of the B-roll footage has Jim Carrey being really rather hilarious. You only have to look at the end credits of Liar Liar, for instance, where it has a lot of outtakes and such, and they're just as funny as the actual film itself, ironically. And then we've got deleted scenes with optional commentary by director Chuck Russell, theatrical trailer, image gallery, and all of the extras that I've shown you already. So, yeah, it's a decent film, no doubt about that. It's just a shame that it's not even funnier. I just guess that perhaps the filmmakers weren't entirely sure how far they could go with Jim Carrey, or how much talent they actually had on their hands with Jim Carrey, because obviously when it comes to his later comedy films like Liar Liar and such, he'd be allowed to go all out and just basically do what he wanted in a lot of ways. So yeah, so it's a solid film, 3.5 out of 5, but definitely could be better, definitely room for improvement throughout. But this physical release is another top one from Arrow Video. Obviously we've had a load lately from them, not Outland, In the Mouth of Madness, Return of the Dead, Thief, Poseidon, The Stuff, Dark City, Witness, all sorts. Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3. It's just been 4K after 4K release from Arrow Video as of late, and yeah, enjoying all of them. And yeah, this is another enjoyable effort, and I'm glad to finally own it on 4K. Although to be honest, I never even owned it to start with. So yeah, it's a new addition to my collection regardless, and a solid film, even if it's not as good as what future Jim Carrey films would become. Nonetheless, so if you have seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.